Dear student, in previous class I discussed about asexual reproduction in plants, in which I discussed about some methods of asexual reproduction just like budding, fragmentation and spore formation. Today I am going to explain about vegetative propagation. So, this type of asexual reproduction is seen in some higher plants. In this method, new plants are produced from the vegetative parts like root, stem, or leaves of the plant. It is for this reason that this method is called vegetative propagation. First, vegetative propagation from a stem. You must have observed potato tubers. Potatoes are the swollen ends of the underground stem of the potato plant. They store food in form of starch. Each potato tuber has eye-like structures called buds. These buds grow into new plants. You can see in this picture modified stems of ginger and turmeric can also produce new plants. Vegetative propagation in plants like onion takes place through special structures called bulbs. These bulbs are composed of reduced stem with layered fleshy scale leaves. Next, corms in plants like gladiolus and colocasia also help in vegetative propagation. A corm is a short, vertical, swollen underground stem that serves as the storage organ and is used by some plants to survive in winter or other adverse conditions, such as drought and extreme heat. Cacti or singular cactus can be multiplied by breaking a part from the old stem and growing it in the soil. You must have observed grass growing in the gardens like a thick green carpet. The gardener puts a few grass plants and soon the whole garden is covered with a green grass cover. This is because the stem of grass grows horizontally and produces leaves and roots at regular intervals. Commercially important plants are often propagated by asexual means in order to sustain and maintain their desirable traits like flower, color, flavor, resistance to disease, etc. Cutting may be taken from the parent plant and rooted. This is done in plants like rose, guava, and bougainvillea. Other artificial methods like grafting, as in mango and citrus plants, and layering, as in jasmine, are also used for vegetative propagation of plants. You can see in this picture. I have also discussed about it in online class, just grafting in rose and layering in jasmine. Next, vegetative propagation from leaves. Leaves of bryophyllum have leaf buds in the nodes of leaves. The buds develop into tiny plantlets. These can grow into new plants when these plantlets come in contact with moist soil. Next, vegetative propagation from roots. Some plants like sweet potato and dahlia use their roots for asexual reproduction. Trees such as poplar send up new stems from their roots. In time, an entire grove of trees may form from the original tree. Vegetative propagation has a number of advantages over sexual reproduction. The plants produced by this method take less time to grow. They also bear flowers and fruits earlier than the plants produced from seeds. The new plants are exact copies of the parent plant and have the same desirable characters as those of their parent plant. However, this can be disadvantage also, since all such plants are identical. If a disease spreads, it can infect the whole lot of them. Next, sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction requires the involvement of two individuals, typically one of each sex. Normal human reproduction is a common example of sexual reproduction. In flowering plants, the reproductive parts are located in the flower. So let us study the parts of flower at first. Most flowers have sepals, petals, stamens, and pistils. Sepals form the outermost whole of green leaf-like structures. They protect the inner parts of the flower during the bud stage. Petals are usually brightly colored and may also produce fragrance. Petals also help to attract insects for pollination. A stamen is the male reproductive part. It consists of an anther and a filament. Pollen grains are produced in the anther. Pistil is the female reproductive part, which consists of the ovary and ovules. You can see in this picture shown parts of a flower. Next, unisexual and bisexual flowers. Flowers may contain either only pistil or only stamens or both. Flowers of some plants like papaya and corn have either only pistils or only stamens. Such flowers are called unisexual flowers. A unisexual flower may be male flower with stamens or a female flower with pistils. Flowers of some plants like tomato, brinjal, and mustard have both stamens and pistils in every flower. Such flowers are called bisexual flowers. Sexual reproduction in flowering plants follows the life cycle just shown in the given figure. You can see here. So let us discuss the main processes involved in this life cycle. First, pollination. The transfer of pollen grains from the anther to a stigma in flowers is known as pollination. Pollen grains are transferred either from anther to a stigma of the same flower, called self-pollination, or to a flower on a different plant of same kind is called cross-pollination. You can see in this picture. Next, pollinators in nature. The process of pollination requires pollinators. Pollinators are agents that carry or transfer the pollen grains from an anther to a stigma. Wind, bees, butterflies, and many other insects, birds, rats, and bats are the main pollinators in nature. In some aquatic plants, water is an agent of pollination. So, pollen grains are very light and are microscopic in size. They contain the male reproductive cell. Each pollen grain has a distinctive outer wall that is tough and resistant to decay. The patterns present on this outer wall are distinctive of a species of plant. The wind-pollinated flowers have their anthers situated at a higher level than the petals. This lets the pollen grains to get blown away by wind. The insect-pollinated flowers are brightly colored and have nectar glands. These release a sweet liquid, nectar, that attracts insects. Next point is fertilization, and I will discuss about it in next class. Thank you.